What's up, guys? Today on People Now, TV doctors doing their part to support real doctors on the front lines of coronavirus.
And on the lighter side today, an exclusive look at the feuds and obsessions at the center of Tiger King.
He really does want the best for people, and I admire that.
We go one-on-one with Dylan Passage, Jeff Lowe, and more breakout stars from Tiger King and this week's People Cover story.
Plus,
I think it's really important to be able to lean on each other.
Survivor star and cancer survivor Ethan Zohn is inspiring us all today.
And if you have kids, the new Trolls movie is about to rock your at-home streaming world. Justin Timberlake and Anna Kendrick answer kids' burning questions.
We love to do Just Dance together.
I always want to be invisible.
That and more all today on People Now. Let's go. Hey everyone, welcome to People Now. Happy Wednesday. We're halfway through the week. I'm Andrea Boehlke here in Wisconsin. Jeremy, how's it going?
Good. I'm Jeremy Parsons here in New York. It's Onesie Wednesday. I've got the full onesie on.
Wait, you're wearing a onesie?
It's a onesie. Ready? Woo!
Wow.
Full commitment.
I'm never going to get those 5 seconds back.
You got to get your onesie. It's so cozy. We're doing it every Wednesday now, it's a thing. Hey, here's something I was going to talk about. You know, the news has really shifted a lot to focus on New York because the numbers here are really bad in terms of coronavirus and all the things that's associated. One thing that's really happening, you've probably seen, is that the spirit of the city is getting more and more energized and supportive every day at 7 o'clock p.m. The whole city erupts in applause for healthcare workers. Let's take a quick listen to the video I took a couple days ago. So you can hear it there, and literally, I'm not joking, every single day, if you're not paying attention, you just suddenly hear it and realize, oh my gosh, it's 7. It's a way that the city has kind of got this rally cry of support and positivity during the midst of what is really a dark moment here in New York.
Yeah, I mean, when I see my friends' stories on Instagram and they're going out there and cheering, even banging some pots and pans, yeah. I think it's a really heartwarming moment and really a way to show some appreciation in a small way that we can do. Yeah. I think that's really great, Jeremy. Do you participate every day?
No, we do it every day. The girls get into it. It's just it's become like this family moment. And then it also opens up this opportunity to kind of talk about what's going on and, you know, why we're supporting these people and how dangerous it is for them, those people on the front line. So yeah, it's something that'll definitely continue here in New York, I'm sure, for a long time.
All right, well, we have a lot to get to today, starting with this.
Joe Maldonado Passage, also known as Joe Exotic, has meant a lot of things to a lot of people while we're all in self-isolation during the coronavirus. The story behind the controversial former zookeeper and main subject of Netflix's Tiger King, Murder, Mayhem, and Madness has sparked a cultural coming together of sorts.
My name's Joe Exotic, and this is Sarge.
He was like a mythical character living out in the middle of bum Oklahoma, who owned 1,200 tigers and lions and bears and
Come here, love me. Matt spoken, good looking, love to party and have fun. I don't think we're done blowing up today.
And in this week's People Cover story, we are taking an in-depth look at the bitter feuds and dangerous obsessions at the center of this wild docuseries, including Joe Exotic's obsession with Carole Baskin.
One of Joe's former employees, John Finley, says that Joe had a really bad hatred toward Carole Baskin. He added, quote, "A lot of us knew it was going to head in a bad direction." Joe is currently serving a 22-year prison sentence in part due to charges for a murder-for-hire plot against Carole.
Carole and Joe's tumultuous relationship began when Joe's side business of breeding tiger cubs caught the attention of Carole, who founded the Tampa-based Big Cat Rescue Sanctuary. She has made it her mission to save big cats from cruelty and exploitation following the mysterious disappearance of her husband, Don Lewis, in 1997. So she and her supporters have fought to shut down Joe's ventures. That's all while Joe has accused her of killing her husband and feeding him to their tigers.
So that docuseries has actually sparked new interest in that disappearance, the disappearance of Don, Carole's husband, former husband. Hillsborough County Sheriff Chad Chronister says he believes it was a homicide. He's hopeful that new information surrounding that case might come to light as a result of all this attention.
But he says that Carole is not a suspect at this time, right. And that's, quote, "We don't have any evidence to even call her a person of interest."
So as for that feud that would eventually put Joe behind bars, former zoo owner Tim Stark, who also appears in Tiger King, says that when he first met Joe, he was all about the animals. When Joe started his battle with Carole, Tim says he told Joe he was going to get his bleep kicked, but Joe did not listen.
And zoo staff member Kelsey Safari, who had his arm bitten off by a tiger while working at Joe's zoo, says that both Carole and Joe began as animal lovers, standing up for what they believed was right. But Saf adds, quote, "It started to not be about the animals. They started to focus more on Carol and Joe and less on the bigger picture. It's the worst kind of love story.
We'll have more about the wild story behind Tiger King with an exclusive sit-down interview with Joe's current husband, Dylan Passage. That is later on in today's show. Stick around for that.
All right, like many of us, Jimmy Fallon is working from home with his family. And I gotta say, we are loving his at-home edition of The Tonight Show. It's really fun, especially Tuesday night's episode, when a pretty important life event happened to Jimmy's 6-year-old daughter, Winnie, during his interview with Sierra and Russell Wilson. Take a look.
Happened actually yesterday. So there's a lot of things that are going on.
Daddy,
and
I lost my tooth.
Wait, hold on, come here right now. Sorry. What? What do you need? Show me. Wait, this is big news, guys. Just tell them what happened.
What happened? Yeah.
You did what?
She lost her tooth.
Oh, wow.
Woo!
Just now it just happened?
Yeah.
Oh, let me see it. Oh my gosh, Winnie, I'm so happy.
Winnie went on to explain to her dad and her dad's famous guests that her mom, Nancy, quote, put a string around my tooth and tried to pull it out, and then it worked, which I have done, and it can hurt, but it does work.
Wow, you've actually done that?
When I was a kid, that did happen, and we actually tried to do that with our oldest one once, and it did not work. Anyway.
Oh, wow. Well, Sierra says the string method didn't work for her son, but it sounds like he didn't need it. When he lost his first tooth, his sister knocked into him accidentally, sending it flying out of his mouth.
Wow. Okay, so it's crazy, and I will say this again, like, you think back about it when you were a kid, what a big deal it was, and now having kids, losing teeth is like the biggest event of life for a small child. And then if, you know, the whole process of like coming up with the story, the tooth fairy and all that, it's actually stressful as a parent.
It's stressful. You did the whole tooth fairy thing?
Yeah. We did it.
It's fun. And that's a little fun element. All right, now watch this.
All right, everyone's a little on edge after several weeks of isolation, including Naomi Watts. On Tuesday, the actress shared a hilarious Instagram video of one epic tongue-in-cheek meltdown after a rough day at home. In the slow-motion video, she tosses her head back, she lets out a big roar with the help of some T-Rex sound effects, of course. She captioned the whole thing, quarantine day number 756, when your printer, your vacuum cleaner, and your dishwasher all break in the same day. We can feel that pain. That's frustrating for sure.
Yeah, several of the star's famous friends jumped in the comment section, like Julianne Moore. She simply said, bad news. Naomi replied back to that, writing, not a good day, before adding a crying, laughing emoji. But it's not all bad. Naomi also shared a photo of her brother, photographer Ben Watts, fixing her trampoline. And on top of the photo, she wrote, Big Brother saves the day. So you gotta find the fun moments right now. Honestly, a trampoline sounds really fun. I wish I had one.
I could spend hours on that. Last month, Naomi let her fans know that she was working through high anxiety levels surrounding the pandemic. It was in a lengthy caption of a photo of herself doing a yoga tree pose that she advised her followers to stand strong and have hope. She then offered up some self-care tips before requesting advice for herself. She also added a side note in that caption. She said, I'm living in sweats, cooking crap food, I'm short-fused, and have only put on Lippy once in 5 days. And yes, it was for Instagram. Look, self-care is something that it's hard, or well, let's say it's maybe hard to do, easy to kind of put on the side right now, I think, in many ways.
Yeah, I think it's really helpful. I like that we've done the meditation Mondays. I've been doing that a lot, and that really helps. And then I've been doing some yoga and working out. You got to kind of find what works for you.
Also, I like that she kind of asked for help, because I think there are moments where you get a little stir crazy, especially if you're more isolated, and you just need to reach out and just say, hey, let's just chat about nothing just to have a connection. So anyway, good for her. We hope and wish for her and her family all the best.
All right, we have a sweet tribute that is sure to make you smile today. On Tuesday, Olivia Wilde shared a video on her Instagram in which she and her fellow TV doctors thanked real doctors and healthcare workers who are fighting on the front lines of the coronavirus pandemic. Let's take a look.
But I just want to say thank you to all the real healthcare heroes out there. And there's some other people who want to say thank you as well.
I'm not a doctor, but I was paid to be one on TV.
I want to thank all the doctors and the nurses, the real ones, not the ones that are on television.
Thank you for your courage and for going out there into the world and doing everything you can to fight this horrible, horrible virus.
No matter how many times we wear scrubs or stethoscopes, none of us can do for society what all of you are doing for us now. Thank you.
Some of our favorite TV doctors made appearances as well. We spotted Sandra Oh, who played Dr. Christina Yang on Grey's Anatomy. She shared her thanks, plus a special shout out to her brother-in-law, Scott, who is an ER doctor in Vancouver.
Edie Falco, who played Jackie Payton in Nurse Jackie, says she hopes doctors can find comfort in knowing they're being thought about and prayed for. And Sarah Chalk, who played Dr. Elliot Reed in Scrubs, kept the jokes coming, and she said, I know they're recruiting retired doctors and nurses, and if you want to recruit the fake doctors, we are ready. We can hand you stuff.
Omar Epps, who played Dr. Eric Foreman in House, called the frontline medical staff heroes and sends his love and prayers to their families and friends. The video then shares a call to action, asking viewers to consider donating to Thrive Global. It's a company collecting donations to provide resources to first responders and those frontline medical staff members.
And thousands of retired healthcare workers have volunteered to return to hospitals and clinics during this pandemic. In New York, an estimated 76,000 have stepped up to join the fight. That is so incredible. We, of course, want to continue to thank all the healthcare workers on the front lines and hope for your safety as well.
Yeah, we send them our thanks. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right, now switching gears to this. In this week's issue of People, we are getting an update on the Turpin siblings. 2 years after the 13 siblings escaped hellish abuse and torture at the hands of their parents, they're finding new futures, friends, and even families.
Yeah, the 6 youngest siblings have been adopted in California, and according to Deputy District Attorney Kevin Beecham, they're in a really good place. He adds that the youngest Turpin suffered fewer years of neglect and abuse, so he expects that they're going to rebound a little better.
Some of the older siblings live together in apartments and are working, while others are receiving more focused care in treatment facilities. Despite different living arrangements, the 13 siblings continue to stay in touch and see each other on a regular basis.
But all 13 siblings still live with memories of the abuse that they've endured. Beecham tells People the Turpin kids still can't look at bread, for example, since for years their meals consisted of only 2 slices of bread with bologna or peanut butter, while their parents, Louise and David Turpin, would eat fast food in front of them. Beecham remembers a time when he made the mistake of mentioning peanut butter. He says that one of the girls almost threw up.
But all that said, Beecham tells us the kids are all happy and enjoying basic freedoms like movies and clean clothes, which they did not have access to while under their parents' roof. One of the boys remembers watching Star Wars while his parents were away, and when they found out what he had done, Beecham tells us he was put in a cage. And he adds, they don't take things for granted. They are moving on with their lives.
For years, the Turpin kids were chained and beaten, kept prisoner in their California home by their parents. They were often starved and tormented with treats like pies for them to look at and smell, but never, ever touch or eat. However, on January 14th, 2018, that all changed.
One of the 13 Turpin kids managed to escape and dial 911, ultimately saving herself and her siblings. Louise and David Turpin are currently serving 25 years to life in prison after pleading guilty to 14 felony counts. They are prevented from communicating with all but 2 of their children who waived protective orders in the case.
All right, stay with us. Justin Timberlake and Anna Kendrick are answering kid questions exclusively for People. It is adorable. You don't want to miss it. Plus, later in the show, Tiger King Joe Exotic's current husband, Dylan Passage, joins us exclusively to answer all of our most burning questions. Stick around for that.
You know, based on my time going through 3 survivors and my time going through cancer, I figured I'm an expert at surviving, isolation, I guess you can say. So I developed a little bit of a guide that I use to help me get out of cancer, and that maybe can be helpful to some folks going through this situation right now in the world.
Survivor Africa winner and one of this season's Survivor Winners at War players, Ethan Zohn, is one of the most inspiring people to ever play the game. He continues to captivate viewers this season with his perseverance and motivation. I caught up with Ethan via video chat from his home in the middle of the woods in New Hampshire, and he shared with me how he's been enjoying this season while in self-isolation. Take a listen. So sometimes when you're on Survivor, you have these big viewing parties. Obviously, with social distancing, that's not really the case. How have you been watching and enjoying the season?
Basically, just watching at home, but, frantically texting all the other guys and girls that are on the show with me, kind of, commiserating and wishing we would be together for this incredible series. But right now, it's just been fun just watching alone at home as well. I guess we have to make it fun.
Oh, is there a group text with everybody, or is it just old school?
I mean, you're not on it? Oh, old school?
Well, I'm not a Survivor winner. I'm a 3-time loser, so.
Oh, well, I'm attuned to losing as well after my time on the second Survivor, Survivor All-Star, Amazing Race, Fear Factor, all that stuff. I've lost a lot of things in my life.
So Ethan and I couldn't get too much into this season's gameplay since the competition is still going on. I have a lot of questions, I'll have to save them. But one of the most inspiring moments from this season is when Ethan, along with Natalie, Danny, and Amber, had to overcome mental and physical obstacles while completing a task on the edge of extinction. Ethan shares that it was the camaraderie between him and those 3 women that really helped him push through.
it might sound a little cliche, but I think the mind is just such a powerful tool. And in moments of despair, and when you think your body's going to put out, your mind can really get put into action and help you get through the most difficult times in your life. So that's kind of what was happening during that like log challenge, where they made us walk up and down this crazy hill 20 times to carry a log to win 1 fire token. But the second part of that is the fact that there were 3 other women there that helped me up that last leg of the race. And so I really feel that, one, being open and vulnerable enough to be able to ask for help and receive that help to, make it that final steps was huge for me. And, maybe a lot of the other players, I don't know what they would have done in that situation, but, for me, I needed them to help me get through that most difficult time. And I think what's going on in the world today, it's okay to reach out and ask for help. It's okay to be vulnerable. And like everyone who's going through this crazy time, fear, anxiety, uncertainty, that's okay. Those are natural feelings to have. And I was going through those moments out there on the edge of extinction as well. And it just felt really wonderful to be able to rely on these women in a game where we're all supposed to stab each other in the back and, be the last person standing. There's this moment of empathy and compassion that we all had for each other and work together, to get to the end of that challenge.
That episode was so emotional, really showed how tough Ethan is. And Ethan is not only inspiring on the game of Survivor, he's a literal survivor in real life. You have this incredible story. You beat cancer twice. When you look back at some of the toughest times through that journey, what is something that really helped you overcome those tough days?
Well, I often mention to people that, when you are sick and going through a health crisis, like in that moment, it's like, it's not that difficult. When a doctor tells you to do something, well, you'll die, you pretty much do it. There's not that much choice involved. But for me, once they sent me home from the hospital and they're like, okay, you're in remission, and expecting me to get my life back in order and just jump back into the life I was living before, that for me was the most difficult part. Living with the fear of the cancer coming back, with the invisible scars, the uncertainty, like that's what was the most difficult part for me. So getting out of that mindset and being able to like live a life not full of this fear and anxiety was just a huge hurdle for me to overcome.
Ethan really has overcome a lot and has so much wisdom. And he's actually compiled some of that wisdom into a helpful isolation survival guide for those really feeling the impact of hunkering down at home. It includes everything from leaning on your family and friends to focusing on the plight of others.
Unlike when you're going through cancer or Survivor, that's a pretty individual experience. There wasn't much opportunity to share what I was going through, because what was going on with me in my life was completely foreign to pretty much everyone in my community. So now, which is an interesting aspect to what's going on in the virus, is like we're all going through the same thing at the same time. And I think it's really important to be able to lean on each other and connect with each other in this time of crisis, because, it's important. I always say never let a crisis go to waste, because it's an opportunity to do some important things. And I feel that's going on right now. So anyone who's scared out there and who's feeling a little bit of anxiety about what's going on, my advice is to, take a step back, relax. I feel there's a lot of pressure for everyone to, explode into like being incredibly productive and then managing your kids and figuring how to work in small spaces and exercise. All these things are happening all at the same time. So I feel everyone needs to take a step back, relax, let it settle a bit. And then if you're obsessed, like I used to be, with these, I call them what if scenarios. When I was post-cancer, I kept thinking like, what if the cancer comes back? What if I die? What if I can't get a job? All these things. And I started ruminating on these destructive thoughts. And the same's going on with the virus. I literally got a sheet of paper and I go, what if I get the virus? And then I wrote down a plan of action for what I would do if that situation actually happened. Okay, I would go to the doctors. I would call my mom. I'd have to go to the hospital. I would do X, Y, and Z. So I knew what would happen. And then I just filed it away. I literally filed it away. So next time when that thought came into my head, what if I get the virus? I'm like, oh, I already thought about this. I know exactly what I'm going to do. I go reference this thing, and then I can move on with my day. And I literally have boxes full of Post-it notes with like all my what if scenarios from my life. And every time these thoughts come into my head, I just go and I reference what I already planned out. It's just easier to move on and get past that moment of fear.
Ethan also emphasizes the importance of structuring your day, especially if you're not used to working from home. Take a listen.
For me, when I was in isolation for 260 days, I woke up and I made a schedule for each and every day. So literally wake up, read the paper, do my emails, make a phone call. And then by the end of the day, I would look back and feel like, oh my God, felt I was so unproductive, but look how productive I was. And emotionally, it just made yourself feel a little bit better, and it provided structure to that day. Obviously, health and wellness is really important. So learning how to keep yourself healthy and active during these times of isolation. I mentioned the what if scenarios. Uncertainty causes anxiety, and that's what's happening in the world today. So if we can get a little bit of control over this uncertainty by mapping out how we're going to react to these crisis situations, I think that will put everyone in a better, more calm environment as well. Laugh a little bit. I think that's really important. Keep your sense of humor around, watch movies, call friends. And then one of the most important things I feel, and it's definitely happening right now, is the concept of focusing on the plight of other human beings can help you heal. So even in the middle of my crisis, going through cancer, or even in the middle of that horrible log challenge on the edge of extinction, we made a choice to help others, even in the middle of that horrible situation. And I truly believe that if we can rely on other people and use this crisis to do important things for others out there, it can help you heal as a human being. And I think that's really important as well.
Yeah, you also, in your notes, have let's get physical, so kind of having some sort of exercise. What have you been doing out there in the woods to stay physical?
Well, I've been chopping wood. I've been stacking wood, which is important. I've been cleaning up the yard. I still jog and go running and do all that sort of stuff. I get on the water and we can do some kayaking as well. And that's been kind of how I've been keeping exercise in my life. And I also just like any situation, don't feel like a rush or the pressure to go out and totally revamp your entire life just because of where you are right now. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
I love him so much. He's honestly one of the nicest people I've met. You can see more of Ethan and his survivor skills on Survivor Winners at War, airing Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on CBS.
All right, Justin Timberlake is gearing up for the release of his second Trolls movie, Trolls World Tour. It is all the rage around my house. It's going to be the first major Hollywood movie to be released straight to streaming since the coronavirus crisis began, and will be available on demand starting April 10th. Mark the calendar.
Now, Justin is staying safe at home, but that didn't stop him from answering some burning questions from a few of his youngest fans. Watch this.
Hi, Justin. I'm Dahlia, and I'm 10 years old, and my question for you is, what makes you as happy as Poppy in Trolls?
Dahlia, thank you for your question. What makes me as happy as Poppy in Trolls? Let's see, ice cream. We can all agree on that. Pizza. Pancakes. I'm basically just naming everything that I've been eating since we've all been staying in our homes. And my son. When he's happy, I'm happy.
Hi, Justin. My name is Reese Rubenstein. I am 5 years old. I would like to know what fun game do you like to play with your son, Silas?
Oh, okay. Thank you for that question. Silas and I play a lot of games. We play all types of games. We love to do Just Dance together, especially the partner dances. We just recently started playing Pictionary on television. Pictionary is always a fun one. And we love Legos in our house. We love Legos. So there's a few.
Hey Justin, I'm Axel and I'm 8 years old. What was your favorite toy when you were little, Peace?
Oh, well, Peace yourself. All right, I like that. You threw that in there really quick. What's your favorite toy when you were little, Peace? Axel, let's see. I had a lot of favorite toys. I think my favorite was a Cabbage Patch doll. who was named Ackerly. I carried that Cabbage Patch doll around everywhere. Ackerly was awesome.
In the film, Timberlake reprises his role as Branch opposite Anna Kendrick, who plays the always cheerful Poppy. She took on a few adorable kids' questions of her own. Watch.
Hi, Anna. My name's Carter, and I'm 6 years old. My name's Beckham, and I'm 5 years old. Our question is, what one superpower would you have?
I always want to be invisible. Like when people ask, like, would you rather fly or be invisible? I think I would rather be invisible because then I could be really sneaky. Maybe that's bad. Maybe I should want to fly, but no, I want to be like sneaky sneaks and be invisible.
Hi, my name is Lucy. I am 10 years old, and I am asking Anna if she and Branch are as close as they are in the movie.
So many adorable kids. Poppy and Branch are very close. Anna and Branch are very close. Love Branch. And Anna and Justin are like fine. They're okay. That guy's okay, I guess. Like whatever. Like we're coworkers. He's all right. Very close to Branch. Have a great personal relationship with Branch. He's a great guy.
It's really sweet. And you can catch Anna and Justin answering more kids' questions on people.com.
All right, social distancing is bringing out a lot of people's online personalities, and the hilarious Leslie Jordan has been a bright and shining star over the last few weeks.
I can't get enough. Ooh, it's exhausting being viral.
I imagine. Now, Leslie has over 1 million followers on Instagram, and these videos are keeping us going.
How many days? Well, just having to make up things to do to pass the time.
Most of the posts are just him talking to the camera, telling stories to his fans.
I'm talking to my friends. Mama, quit bothering me.
And he's even introduced the world to Miss Callie.
Tell her back, hello.
And that's not the only feline friend Leslie has. He even introduced a few to People exclusively. This is Staying Home with Leslie Jordan. Enjoy.
Hey everybody, it's Leslie Jordan. Welcome to people.com. I'm in Chattanooga, Tennessee with my family. Now, when we first moved to this neighborhood, we had a terrible feral cat problem. So my sisters and my mother and I, we all took it upon ourselves with the help of Chattanooga, which is a local agency, to trap, neuter, and release. This is the queen bee. Her name is Oreo. We've had Oreo since my sisters were living in Dana Point, and I'm telling you, it was like 10 years ago, and there was a kitten under the house, and the neighbors came running, and my sister, one of them, put some food. We couldn't get that kitten out. Well, all of a sudden, my sister walked away, and here came Oreo, this little bitty thing. We didn't know a kitten if it was a boy or a girl. We thought it was a boy. And when you go to Chattanooga to have them fixed, they want the boys on one day and girls on one day, so we had a whole litter full. Well, we took her, we thought it was a he on the boy day. They said, no, this is a girl. So we named her Lucille after my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, who's the best cook in all of Hamilton County. Her red velvet cake could make a Pentecostal put on lipstick. Tell them, Lucy. We've got Opie and Archie. They were just miracle kittens that we went through. They had a hard scrabble upbringing. But look, and then there's Ginger down the street, thinks she lives here. Comes down here and expects us to feed her. Well, here I am in the backyard with, can you see Spanky? He had a hard scrabble upbringing, and then, bless his heart, the raccoon bit his tail off. We had to have it amputated. So I hope you are all hunkered down and with your kitty cats and everything and being safe. And these cats keep looking at us like, why are y'all here so much? Go somewhere. Bye-bye.
Keep the videos coming, Leslie. They're very fun. All right, moving on to this. In this week's issue of People, we are catching up with the stars of Little People, Big World, Zach and Tori Roloff. With social distancing happening around the world, Tori says that their family's day-to-day routines haven't actually changed all that drastically. She admits that they're actually very much homebodies, and they both just really enjoy being at home.
Yeah, and a big reason that they're happily staying put, their two kids, Jackson, who is 2, and Lila Ray, who is about to be 5 months old. Tori reveals that mom and dad are, quote, loving the season that we're in right now, raising kids. And they add, Zach and I always say that we were built for this family life. They admit that it's been an adjustment parenting both a toddler and an infant, but they both seem to want to expand their family further. Tori explaining that originally she wanted 2 kids max, but now she can definitely see them having more. And Zach is on the same page. He shares that he could do 3 or 4.
Both Jackson and Lila were born with achondroplasia, and Zach believes that it will bring them closer than your typical brother-sister relationship. Zach predicts that once Jackson gets older, he will set a precedent at school by punching through those barriers, so that when Lila starts her school years, the school will already have an awareness of what the needs are. And he adds he'll be blazing that trail for her. Zach also says that they don't want dwarfism to define their kids.
Yeah, and guys, next week we're actually going to be talking to Zach and Tori Roloff. We can't wait to hear more about this adorable family. Tune in for that. And now we move on to this.
People, people, now's the best. That's it.
Actress Brooklyn Prince is the queen of making up songs on the spot. And that was a special performance of a song that we made up during our chat. I don't know, was it embarrassing on my end? Probably. She was great though. I recently caught up with Brooklyn about her role in the new Apple TV Plus series called Home Before Dark. Brooklyn says that on set, she would often make up songs with her co-star Jim Sturgis, who plays her father on the show. So you might know him from the 2007 Beatles-inspired movie Across the Universe. It's so good, it's a classic. Now these two share a pretty strong bond. So check out a clip from the show.
What did you do?
I'm a journalist.
No, you're a 4th grader.
You sent this to the whole effing school?
Izzy, language.
Technically, effing isn't.
Hildy, not now.
You left the house in the middle of the night? Come on, what were you thinking?
Mom said we could have more freedom here.
Yeah, well, that's gone now.
Someone we know got murdered last night.
The show tells the real story of a young investigative reporter who solves a murder mystery while in middle school. It's incredible. Now, Brooklyn shares her reaction when she found out the show was based on a true story and how it inspired her.
My mind is also what inspired me, because I wanted to be a director, inspired me to go get out there, because she was 8 or 9 years old, going out and solving these amazing cases and just going before the police got there, and she was super on top of it. And then I started doing research into her, and that's when it got even more amazing, because I started seeing that she has fears. When someone tells her no, she's like, I say no to you and I say yes to me. So I'm just gonna do it now.
With a real-life murder at stake, the show is a bit eerie, and at 9 years old, Brooklyn has revealed in the past she has a lot of fears, like being afraid of the dark. So she tells me the hardest part about shooting a show like this.
I had to learn, and if you haven't seen the season, I don't want to give too much away, but there is some child abuse in it, and I had to learn that parents can sometimes hurt their children, and they don't care about their children sometimes. And when I was little, I thought everyone was like my mom and dad, and my mom and dad are super nice parents. They would never hurt me, they would never put me in danger, and they would never force me to do something I didn't want to do. So that was really confusing for me, but also that stuck with me, and that made me really sad. I think that was a point where it was this reality just hitting me, and that probably was the hardest part, because I already knew about kidnapping, but I didn't know the severity of it, and I didn't know about, I knew about racism, but not how bad it can take a toll, and it's really sad. So that was probably part of the hardest parts, was just learning about those things, and learning about the world isn't all perfect, and the world sometimes can be really, really mean.
Brooklyn is widely known for her role in 2017's The Florida Project and her starring role in the 2020 horror film The Turning. But she has another movie coming out later this year, The One and Only Ivan. There are some huge names in this one. You've got Bryan Cranston, Sam Rockwell, Angelina Jolie, Helen Mirren, and Danny DeVito. What a cast. Brooklyn says she met them all, but she tells me about her special relationship with 2 of the stars in particular.
I met Angelina Jolie at the Governor Awards, and I was talking with her, and I said, I think we're gonna be in a movie together. Let's wear elephant onesies. And she was like, oh yeah. So I went home and I told my mom, order an elephant onesie. And she was like, okay. And I showed up on the day, and I had my full elephant onesie on. I had elephant slippers on. I was full elephant. And, my dad was like, don't get your hopes up. She walks in, she looks at me and she goes, "Aw, you beat me." And then she goes in, she drops everything she has, she pulls on her elephant onesie. And there's a picture that we have of me and Angelina Jolie and elephant onesie.
Wait, she had an elephant onesie?
Yes. She was super fun, and Sam Rockwell was super fun. He lassoed me. Like, he brought lasso, and he lassoed me in the parking lot because I told him to.
Why is that not surprising? For some reason, picturing Sam Rockwell lassoing you is not a shock.
My dad has the video. Angie gave me an elephant that is attached to a little elephant, so it's like Stella and Ruby. And I was like,
she's so adorable. So excited to see that movie. But in the meantime, be sure to check out Brooklyn Prince in Home Before Dark. All 10 episodes are streaming now on Apple TV+.
Netflix's hit docuseries Tiger King, Murder, Mayhem, and Madness, full title there, has wowed viewers for a lot of reasons, including its cast of characters, like Joe Exotic, of course, and the men Joe has been romantically involved with. That includes his current husband, Dylan Passage, who is sticking by Joe's side as he serves a 22-year prison sentence. I actually caught up with Dylan. We talked about everything from how Joe is reacting to his newfound fame and what he thinks about the docuseries and their love story. Check this out. Dylan, thank you so much for being here. It's good to talk to you.
Yeah, glad to be here, man.
Take us back, I guess, over the course of the past 2-3 weeks. How has life changed for you since this docuseries took off on Netflix?
My life has been put on blast completely. Everybody's like super curious about what I'm doing, what I've been through, how Joe has been, and how the show's affected me. Really, it's a bit overwhelming because I was never, wanting to be like in the public eye. But now that it's happening, I mean, it's just something I'm kind of going with the flow with.
Yeah. And when you watched back, I'm assuming you've watched the whole docuseries at this point. What did you think about it? How everyone was portrayed?
Yeah, so like most 3 or 4 of the interviews that I did with them were not put into the series, which really told a lot about my background and the things that I've been through, and how me and Joe like really came to get to know each other.
And so you're married to Joe Exotic.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that in terms of how you met, how you fell in love with him. What was it about him, that initial spark, that reaction? What worked for you that made you think, oh my goodness, this is someone that I could be in a relationship with? And then you ultimately fell in love and became married.
His charisma, man. He was like, as you saw on the show, he spoke his mind and he really didn't care what people thought. He stayed true to himself constantly. And he's such a generous person. He does anything to help anybody who needs their help or needs his help. And, he really does want the best for people. And I admire that in him.
As someone watching and then, hearing his voice on those taped recordings from prison, all I could think was, I would just love to know what he is making of all of this whirlwind of attention, this flurry of attention that this documentary has brought to him in his life. What does he make of it? What's he saying about everything?
He absolutely loves the attention. I mean, at first he was pretty wary, he wasn't sure how he was going to be portrayed, but he was getting a lot of jail mail and emails and like mail just sent to him, like letters, and he loved the feedback. And, he wished he could reply to everybody, but, he's only allowed to do so much and send out so many letters. But yeah, as you know, his name is Joe Exotic. Like he likes to be in the limelight. And so this was, he had to go to jail for it to happen, but it happened.
Were you shocked by Joe Exotic's arrest and conviction in this whole situation?
Oh yeah, I had no idea. So he was just going to the hospital to apply for a job and put in his resume. So he's on the phone with me and he's like, I'm getting arrested right now. Like, you got to come up here and get my truck. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, what's happening? And he was like, they won't tell me. So then I get up there and I ask the police officer, you know, like what's going on, and he was like, I can't tell you. So I didn't know what was happening until his mediation later that day.
Has Joe been able to see any of the docuseries in Tiger King?
No, I mean, he's in jail, so I mean, I don't really think that's possible. I mean, he got to see the news and like everything that was happening on the news, but he hasn't seen like the whole series, you know.
What has he told you about his experience in jail, other than the fan mail and things like that, but just the day-to-day?
Super rough, super hard for him. You know, he's been put in isolation quite a few times, and you know, sometimes he doesn't know why, and you know, he's just obviously not used to living that kind of lifestyle. I mean, he's lived at the zoo for most of his life and gotten able to do what he wants and do the things that he loves, and for all of that to be taken away from you in the blink of an eye has got to be, you know, traumatic and overwhelming.
What has made you decide to stay with Joe Exotic throughout this whole period of time and as he's in prison?
So I was in a really, really bad place whenever I met Joe, and super depressed, and you know, just felt really alone. And you know, he was there for me with it, like without a shadow of a doubt. And I mean, what kind of person would I be to just bail out on him when he gets put in this kind of situation?
I've found a lot of people, just to be honest with you, in my circles of friends that have watched, have been surprised to see you with him and to see you marry him. Why do you think people have been surprised by that? What's your response when people are maybe shocked at the pairing? It's in some ways an unlikely pairing.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a really big age gap, but I mean, that was never an issue with me. I kind of like older guys anyway, and I don't know. I mean, I never cared what people thought, like people's opinions, you know, they're entitled to it. And I mean, at the end of the day, nothing's really going to change what they think. So, I mean, I just kind of keep living my life.
We saw many sides of Joe Exotic on the docuseries and how he interacted with the animals. We saw glimpses of good things, bad things. How was Joe with the animals based on what you saw?
He treated them like they were his children. Every day he would, as he's walking by the cages, he would say hi and like put his hands in the cages, and like the tigers and lions were super comfortable with him. You know, like he raised most of them from when they were babies.
Right.
So, I mean, they were obviously comfortable with him. He was comfortable with them. They totally made him happy.
And so when you think about your life there, when you were living at the zoo for a period of time, right, with the cats and everything, what was life like then, and what do you miss about it?
It was, so I've always been an animal lover ever since I was a little kid. So like being around the animals, it actually brought me out of my depression and, you know, got me in the right headspace and made me feel like I had a purpose. I mean, I got to take care of baby tigers every day, baby kangaroos, lemurs, whatever you could think of, you know, zebra, camel. It was like a dream come true, and to have that ripped away from me was definitely like heart-wrenching, but I can't even imagine what it was like for Joe. You know, like he spent his whole life doing this kind of thing.
When Joe gets out of prison, what do you think is next for him?
Big things coming. He wants to, you know, he wants to restart his life and, you know, have his animals just for him, not a public zoo, but a privatized zoo, and just enjoy his life and kind of put all this behind him and see where things go.
And how about for you? What's your future look like, just in general for yourself, and then also with Joe?
I mean, that's kind of the same thing I want to do, you know. I mean, I was ecstatic and so happy being at the zoo. I mean, that was probably the happiest I'd ever been, and I definitely want to, you know, remake that life and rebuild that kind of situation.
What did your family make of the docuseries after they saw it?
My stepdad, who I call dad because he was there when my real dad wasn't. He was super proud because first off, he didn't even know exactly what was happening. And then to hear like the backstory of everything, he was just shocked of, you know, exactly what I've been through. Because I'm not exactly open about it because it's not something that I want to live or define my life. And I don't know, everyone really in the family was just shocked to see exactly what had perspired, you know.
Yeah. If we move forward, imagine a movie being made about this whole thing. Who plays Dylan?
Zac Efron.
Oh, nice. Okay. You've thought about it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been asked this question multiple times.
Of course. Oh, this is the most original question ever. What is it about? What does Zac possess that makes him the right actor?
blue eyes, dark hair, good looking. I mean, what else can I say?
What else can you say? Do you know if there's going to be follow-ups in terms of new docuseries that come out following this and where they would go?
I'm not sure if I can speak about it publicly, but I know that there is something in the works. So stay tuned.
Dylan, it's good to hear from you, man. Thank you so much. Best of luck with everything moving forward, okay?
Yep, for sure. Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you. All right, coming up tomorrow, we are continuing our look into the wild world of Tiger King with an exclusive interview with Jeff and Lauren Lowe.
And Jeremy, that interview is insane.
I can't wait.
Plus, the first female Iron Chef, Kat Cora, is sharing a special treat that you can enjoy with your family using items you already have in your kitchen.
Guys, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking some time. Stay safe, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.
Bye, everyone.